Somebody tell me. What, no, there's no wrong answer. Food. Healing. What else? Do what?
Patience.
Patience. Rest. Water. What else? Tell me something you need.
You need him always when the devil's on you.
Yeah. You need the Lord. What else? Something you need. Yep, she said the Lord. What? Anything else you need? The times you need. You just need. But you got to have it. Now tell me something that you think you need that you want sometimes. I'm serious.
A wife.
What do you think you need? And you think you got to have it. Okay. What else?
Sometimes when you get things you think you need, then you ain't satisfied with it.
Okay. What did you say, Connie?
I said a new car.
A new car? New dress? Randy and Troy need hair?
Amen.
What else? Tell me something. Somebody tell me what you think you need. You got to have it. And sometimes we'll do whatever it takes to get it.
A gun.
Okay. What else? To be young? Okay. Okay.
I'm going to heaven to get that.
Okay. You think you had to have a motorcycle?
Some people think you need a new life.
Yeah. I saw a picture there on Facebook, and it's the death angel. I'm talking to this guy, and he said, "You're not home." He said, "Your wife signed for that new guitar you ordered." He said, "You want to come with me now or later?" That could happen. There are things that we need. There are things that we think we need. There are things that we think we have to have, and like I said, personal things or whatever, because somebody else has it, we say, okay, I have to have it too, whatever the situation is, that I need it too. But where is Jesus when we need him? You know, where is Jesus when we need him? Now, you can look at every other false god, and I don't remember how it was worded there. I heard something on TV, something about, or read it, something about Buddhism or something. I forget what it was. They said, you really don't, Buddha wasn't a real man, so you don't really have to worship him. So they don't ask you to worship it. You can be a Christian and be a Buddhist. That's what it said. Basically, the message said, you can be a Christian and be a Buddhist. If you go looking at what Buddhism teaches and believes, you can't be a Christian and be a Buddhist. So where's Jesus when we need him? I'm going to read Jeremiah 23, 24, and then we'll read other verses. Am I a God at hand, saith the Lord, and not a God afar off? Can any, listen to this, can any hide himself in secret places that I shall not see him, saith the Lord? Do not I fill heaven and earth, saith the Lord? Now, Carrie, if you read our verses, 7 through 12, Psalm chapter 139, verses 7 through 12.
Whither shall I go from thy spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. Yea, the darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to thee.
So, God says he's everywhere. His omniscience, of course, means that God knows everything. His omnipotence means that God is powerful. And his omnipresence means that God is everywhere. Those are theological terms. We had to learn those in college. That God is everywhere and that God knows everything. I know a couple of people who, I told you, we were talking Wednesday night, and I had a boss who said she never sinned. She had never sinned. I first moved to Bloomington. I was working at Irish Line, and she said, we were witnessing to her one night, and she said she had never sinned. She was serious that she had never sinned. I know a couple of people who think that they are never wrong. You cannot tell them anything. They do not like anybody else's opinion. I'm serious. They will not let somebody express their opinion without bucking it. They're always right. One of the persons I've known that has gotten in arguments with their parents, won't talk to their mom or dad for 6 months because they express their opinion. But God knows everything. And we have to rely on Him. So on Wednesday nights we have prayer meeting and we have extra time to share our prayer requests. We take about a half hour, we sing a couple songs, 2-3 songs, and we share prayer requests. We can't take that much time on Sunday morning, a couple minutes, but we can't take a whole half hour unless we're going to go to hour-half services. But we take time and we share the prayer requests and then we have prayer. And our prayer list has got quite a few things on it. We're getting ready to make a new one. A lot of people. There are people who need a lot of things. So we need the Lord. There's only going to be a couple slides here, but there's several things on each slide to fill out. So the first thing is how God's presence benefits my life. Now, there are a lot of things that benefit us. Somebody said water. Somebody said we need food. Somebody said we need prayer. All three of those benefit us. The water and the food we have to sustain our bodies. We cannot do without those. The prayer we need. The Bible says to pray one for another. It says to pray without ceasing. It says to pray for our enemies who despitefully use you. Jesus spent a lot of time in prayer. He was the Son of God. He's talking to the Father, but He was also God. But He spent a lot of time talking from Himself to God because He was a human being also. But as God, He didn't have to pray to the Father because He was part of the Godhead, the Trinity. But God's presence benefits us. There are benefits. There are a lot of things we do that have fringe benefits. We work. One of the fringe benefits is at the end of the week, and now a lot of places don't actually hand you a check. They deposit it into your account. But you work and you get moolah. That moolah doesn't go as far as it used to, but you get this money. That's a benefit. Maybe you have other extra benefits. My father-in-law worked for General Motors, retired from General Motors. He worked in 2 divisions in the early 70s. He got laid off. He was working hourly. They laid him off, and Becky can tell you the whole story, but he had been sick. He went back to work. They called him back, then they laid him off, and Becky wrote she don't know if it did any good, but she wrote the CEO of General Motors, and she said, "You have caused my father to have stress and to have stomach problems because you called him back, let him go, called him back, now you let him go again, and now he's in the hospital." That's when he had a lot of colon problems from all the stress. It wasn't long and they called him back to work again. How he went back to work hourly. But he was the only person in General Motors who one of his benefits was he was the only person that ever retired hourly, had enough time hourly and salary. And every couple of years they get a new person doing the bookwork and they call him and say, "Mr. Vincent, you can't get 2 checks from General Motors." He had to go through, took an hour to explain the whole thing. So finally what they did, they sent him 1 check with no Social Security number on it, 1 check with a Social Security number, and at the end they just combined it all and sent 1 statement. But one of his benefits was he got 2 checks. He had many other benefits. One of his benefits was that at that time, under his contract, he had life insurance for life. It didn't stop at 65. He had major medical till he died, and his wife. She died early. Of course, Mimo died earlier, but that's a benefit. Is that a good benefit? In today's world, of course. So there are benefits of having Jesus on our side. Number 1, as you see the slide, when I am lonely, God is my companion. We've talked about this so many times. We're so much better off and we're much happier when we have somebody with us. Psalm 25:16. Turn thee unto me and have mercy upon me, as he's asking the Lord, for I am desolate and I am afflicted. Well, David is saying, Lord, I have to have you. He said, I need mercy. I need your grace. I need your everyday fulfilling. Do we need that? I've asked this before. What if we knew? All right, let's play like the kids say. Let's pretend it's 10:32, 10:34, whatever it is. Let's say at 11 o'clock you knew, you got a bulletin, you knew that at 11 o'clock the Holy Spirit was out of here. He was going to be out of your life for 24 hours. Now, sometimes 24 hours goes by real fast. Sometimes 24 hours, depends on what happens, goes by real slow. 5 hours in the house with Mike and Linda probably went by real slow. 5 hours sitting there. So 24 hours, you get a bulletin, we get a bulletin, say, okay, the Holy Spirit's leaving us for 24 hours. Have you ever heard that word panic? Would you panic? I would. I would be afraid. David said, I'm desolate. Paul said in Hebrews 13:5, let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such thing as you have. For he that said, I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. The benefit is God's presence strengthens me. The benefit of that is that God's presence, just knowing, and they say knowing is half the battle. If you're walking at night by yourself or if you're walking with somebody else makes a big difference. When you're by yourself, every little noise, every little creak, every little branch that moves, you're weary. Now, if you're walking with somebody else, you're not as weary. You're not as leery. You just go along, you're talking, you're walking, and you're a lot better off. You're a lot more calm. When we know the Lord's walking with us, that's a benefit. One more verse here, Isaiah 41:10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. He says, I will strengthen thee, I will help thee, yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Now, is that a suggestion? Did God suggest that he might do that? What's the word in that verse that is guaranteed? He said, I will. W-I-L-L, I will. W-I-L-L. He didn't say, if this happens, and if you do this, and if you do that. Her lady in the store yesterday, her granddaughter was jumping all around the place, bouncing everywhere. She had a pair of shoes in her hand. It was at Sam's. Oh, by the way, that was at Sam's in Columbus. Next Sunday, I know we're going to stay a while. Some guys, if you guys could bring a change of clothes, I've got 20 bags of mulch in my truck. They didn't have any more here. We need to top off the parking lot, the playground. So if I can get some help, I won't have to do it all myself. So next Sunday, we're going to stay here and eat anyway. If we could go out there real quick and dump those bags, that'll help me, so I don't have to do it all. But she was bouncing all over the place. And her grandma said, if you don't, she kept calling these in between these boxes on these shelves, all the metal shelves they have Sam's. If you don't come back over here, you don't get those shoes. She said, I'm not buying you shoes if you don't stop. That girl got out of there real quick. She got threatened. She got out of there real quick. So when I am worried, God is my confidence. Now, we all have to have confidence. Isaiah 42:2. When thou passest through the waters, I will. Here's that word again. I will be with thee. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. It says, when thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They got thrown in a fiery furnace, and then the king said, stroke it up 7 times hotter. In machine shop in high school, we had a blast furnace. I don't remember what the temperature of that thing was. We got metal white hot. Now, metal gets pink, and it gets red when it gets hot, and when it gets white hot, it's hot, it's too hot to touch. You can take that metal and you can bend it any way you want. You got to do it quick because it cools down fast. But when it gets white hot, it's flexible. And that's what you want. That's the purpose of it. Other times there were things we would coat them with carbon and we wanted to harden something. And you had to leave it in that little furnace for several hours, and that carbon cooked on the outside and made it a hardened surface. If you did it too long, it would crumble. If you did it not enough, it would be hard. You get the picture, but the fire is hot. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego got thrown in this fire, and they looked in there, and what was the deal? There wasn't just Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Who else was in there? Jesus was in there. God was in there. There's 4 people in there. And guess what? They're not burning up. Now our physical bodies would be crisp. There are some people who desire, they have a right to, it's their bodies. You know, it's funny, there's protests all over the country against abortion because they say it's my body, but they sure want to give everybody a shot. They said it didn't matter whether it's your body or not, you had to do it. Boy, how's that work? So, you know. So there and there, some people desire to be cremated. They can have a right to do that. We're going to turn to dust anyway. I've had people argue. There were arguments. People brought that up in college. Between classes, we went to the snack shop. And there'd be discussions about theology, your opinion on this and this and this, and we called it snack shop theology. Most of them in the snack shop were the married students. Because it's single students we did between class, they went back and they took a nap. Most of the single students just went back to the dorm and they went to sleep. Guy fell asleep in one class and Brother Woodworth he was on the front row in the auditorium, he threw a eraser at him and woke him up. He said, son, he said, are you married? He said, no. He said, do you work a job? He said, no. He said, then you don't have any right to sleep in my class. He said, if you were married and had children and work a job, I could understand. He said, stay away from my class. And Brother Woodworth's about that tall. He wasn't very tall. He said, stay away from my class. You get the picture, the fire. God said, I'm going to be with you. I don't care if the flood comes up, I'm going to be with you. Now, when those things are up, when the water's up and the fire's hot, sometimes we think he's not with us. So here comes the question, where is God when we need him? We're in the fire, we're in the water, where is he? He's with us. He's right. He said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. He said, I'll stick closer than a brother. He said, I'll stick closer than a brother. I've told you before, me and my brother call each other a couple of times a week. Usually on Monday, Tuesday morning, 5:30. My phone doesn't call his phone calls my phone. A couple times a week we talk to each other. Hopefully I'll get to see him this summer. I haven't seen him since last year. Aiden and Connor fight all the time, and they said, oh, I wish my brother wasn't around. You know how brothers do. I told him the other day, I said, dude, yes, on the phone, I said, one of these days. I told Aiden, I said, one of these days, you're going to be separated. And you're going to wish that you were closer so you could see your brother. You don't understand that now. They don't understand that now, but it'll happen. But here's God. I won't leave you. Isaiah 43:5, fear not, for I am with thee. I will bring thy seed from the east and gather thee from the west. What's the benefit of this? God's presence, it assures me. It gives me confidence. You start a new job, and the first day is always the worst. You know, you may know basic things, and you may know things, and you may have had schooling. I have an uncle who's 6 years younger than me, Rudy. He's worked for Dr. Pepper for, I don't know, almost 40 years. Started out as a security guard, and then he worked his way up, and now he's running the sugar plant. He takes care of all the syrup. They use between 2 and 5 million pounds of sugar every week in the Dr. Pepper factory in St. Louis. But several years ago, they were going to get rid of him because he didn't have a college degree. Now that paper's important, I understand. I have 3. I have a degree in theology, a degree in Bible, and I have a degree in counseling. That's important, but they were going to get rid of Rudy after he'd been there for 30 years, and they were going to hire 2 college guys. They just graduated from college. They had all the classes on what to do. And then they started having some meetings, and they decided, you know what? Rudy doesn't have a degree, and his name is Rudy Russell Rufus Pinko. He doesn't have a degree, but he has the knowledge. They kept him. You know what I think? Not just because he's my uncle, I think they were smart. Get rid of somebody who's been doing it for 20 years. For two guys coming out of college who have no idea. The first day is always the worst. And then you learn it, and then you get confidence. The first time you cook, you say, I can't do it. There's somebody in this room that says they can't cook, but they could. Psalm, right, Francis? So, Psalm chapter 16, verse 8. I have set the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand. What do we call a helper? A right-hand man. He's my right-hand man. She's my right-hand woman. I shall not be moved. Therefore my heart is glad, and my glory rejoices. My flesh also shall rest in thee. He's our companion. He's our confidence. And then when I am tempted, God is my protector. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. Somebody said a while ago, we need God when the devil's tempting us. There is no temptation taking you, but such as is common to man. Most of you know this verse. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that which you're able, but will with the temptation make a way to escape, that you may be able to bear it. He said, I will help you. Here's the problem. Here's the rub. We don't ask. Am I right? We're tempted a lot of times and we don't ask, we don't stop and say, Lord, get me out of this. Lord, get me out of this. We don't ask. We forget to ask. What's the benefit? God's presence delivers me. God's presence delivers me. Now, a lot of people in our day are relying on deliveries. How many of you here order from Amazon? Raise your hand. Or you get Amazon things, several of you. Mike, do you get too many things ordered?
Yes.
Me and Mike have discussed
I
this.
don't order from Amazon.
But he knows somebody that does. We won't get into that right here, Mike. It's church. But you have this thing they call delivery. They're trying to get drones. They're trying to get it where they can have drones come and drop it on your porch or on your head, wherever you want it. But this truck pulls up and they get out of the truck and they hand you a package or they put it down. Now what they're doing is they're laying it down, taking a picture of it because things are being stolen. Then they've at least got a picture of it being collected. I saw a video of a FedEx guy. He went up to a porch. He put the package down. He took a picture of it. And then he picked the package up and took off with it. But their video camera caught it. Their camera saw it all. Like the blind man. They saw it all. I imagine he probably got fired. He probably lost his job. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations and to reserve, listen to this, to reserve unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. The unjust are going to be punished. We are going to be tempted. Satan is alive and well on planet Earth. Late 60s or early 70s, Josh McDowell wrote that book. If you've never read it, get it. It's a good book. Satan is alive and well on planet Earth. I read it in the early 70s. I have it in my library. Satan is real. He is alive. His desire is to destroy us all. He's trying to destroy this world. You know, they couldn't sell electric cars when gas was $2 a gallon, so now it's going up to $4 or $5 a gallon. Guess what? They're pushing electric cars. I haven't heard or seen one of the politicians in Washington, D.C., though, driving electric cars or being transported in them. But they're pushing that. So, when I am discouraged, God is lastly my comforter. My comforter. Something happens to us, we break something, or a bad thing happens, or somebody dies, or somebody gets sick, or anything can happen. And somebody comes and what do people try to do? They try to comfort us. They try to give us comforting words. Now, some people can do that better. Some people can know because they've experienced that thing. So they can say, here's what the Lord did for me when this happened to me, and here's how I got through it. And those are comforting words because we can say, okay, I can try the same thing. Psalm 34:18, the Lord is nigh unto thee, unto them that are of a broken heart. And that's many of us, many times. And save us such as be of a contrite spirit. Job chapter 14, verse 1, and of all people who needed comfort, Job did, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. What is the benefit of this? God's presence encourages me. We need confidence, and then we need to be encouraged. A whole group of men or women or whatever, they're getting ready to run down the track. Used to be 100 yards, now it's meters, whatever. Or a quarter mile or a mile race, whatever it is. I remember when I was in high school, the guy, I don't remember the guy's name, he broke the 4-minute mile. I have no idea what it is. Anybody else know? Does anybody else care? But I was on the cross-country team, and we were interested in that, and I forget his name. He broke the 4-minute, he ran a mile in less than 4 minutes. I could do that in less than 4 days now. We ran a mile. He had the world record for 1 mile. When we get a bunch of them on the track and they take off, fans are sitting there and they're yelling for their favorite person. I saw a video the other day, this girl, I don't know if she drank Mountain Dew or what. She was at the back of a pack on a race, and they had one or two quarter-mile laps. She passed everybody and won that race, and she came from the back. And the guy who videotaped it said, "That's my niece." You think he was proud of her? She came from the back. You hear what happened in the Kentucky Derby last week? I told you that horse wasn't favored to win. He came from the back of the pack and he won the race. Or she, or whatever it was. Psalm 23:4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Why? Here it is again. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff. They do what? They comfort me. Jesus said, when I leave, the Comforter is coming. I'm not going to leave you all alone. We don't like to be by ourselves. He said, I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm going to send the Comforter. 40 days, the day of Pentecost. The Holy Spirit came. Jesus said, I will send him. I'm not just joking. It not just might happen. Now look at this last slide, last thing here, and we'll finish up. How do we enjoy his presence? Sometimes we forget to talk to him, but draw nigh into him in our hearts. James chapter 4, verse 8. Draw nigh unto God, and he will, here's that word again, W-I-L-L, he will draw nigh unto thee. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Understand that there is no place he is not. We said that theological term, we use that at the beginning, omnipresence. Now sometimes we feel somebody wants us in 4 places at once. Got food on the table, kids are crying, the phone's ringing, and the doorbell rings. What do you do first? Sit down and cry? What do you do first? My father-in-law always said, he told Becky's brother, Gary, he'd call, and when he was being trained for the SEALs, he was a Navy SEAL, he said, they're doing this, and they're doing this, and they're doing this. And he said, Gary, he said, hit the alligator closest to the boat. That's the one that's coming after you. That's what he said. My wife has told, Randy, you ever heard your mother say that? She has used that phrase, but he said, hit the alligator closest to the boat. Because he said, well, they tied our feet and our hands behind our back and threw us in the water. We had to tread water for 5 minutes. If you're going to be a Navy SEAL, guess where the SEALs spend time? In the water. He was on the underwater demolition team. Never had to really do a lot of it, but they would have had to go down and put explosives on another boat and blow it up. No big deal. He never has been able to tell us any details. But he said they're doing this and they're doing that. And he said, if they can get your goat, they're going to get it. He said, if your goat, if they know where your goat's tied, they're going to get it. Don't let them get your goat. And Gary survived. I don't know how many start the SEAL program and how many drop out. I don't know. The FBI came around the whole neighborhood, questioned everybody, questioned the neighbors, questioned friends, asked what kind of guy he was, all this. I mean, they're thorough. But he passed. He became a Navy SEAL. Went over to the Philippines. Never did really have to go into Vietnam, but he spent time in the Philippines. But draw nigh to me. Understanding that there's no place he is not. Acts chapter 17, 27, 28. That they should seek the Lord. And says if haply they might feel after him and find him. Listen to this. Though he be not far from every one of us. For in him we live and we live and we move and we have our being. There's a song, there's a chorus that says use those words. And certain also of your own host have said, for we are also his offspring. Do you realize how important that last phrase is, real quickly? Those of you who are parents, lady in the movie we saw said the most precious time of my life was when me and your father got married, so your daughter. But then when your sister came along, and then when you came along, that topped it. Your offspring, your children. You love them with all your heart. Most parents would give their lives for their children. Until their grandchildren come, so forget you, I'll give my life for granddaughter. But you give your life for your child. You'll do anything for your child. You'll give them whatever they need. You'll supply their needs. We're his offspring. We are children of God. Nurture a developing relationship with him. Psalm 62:8. Trust in him with all at all times. Ye people, David said, pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. And he says Selah, which means so be it. Expect him to meet us in our needs. I said that so on purpose. Expect him. If we go into the situation and say, oh yeah, God, it ain't going to happen. There's been more than once I've done that. There's been some things happen. And I said, no, that's not going to happen. I'm serious. I said, there's nothing going to happen. There's no sense praying about it. Because there's no way that's going to happen. Anybody else here ever been slapped in the head by God? Slapped upside the head? I got it. More than once. No, that ain't going to happen. There's no way. Well, God has a way of showing you. God has a way of slapping you upside the head and saying, boy, I say, boy, pay attention. I'm here to remember the foghorn, leghorn. Boy, I say, boy, pay attention to me. Psalm 46:1, one last verse. The Lord of hosts is the God of Jacob. He is our refuge. God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. Very present. That means he is right here when we need him. The title of the message is, where is God when we need him? He's right here beside us. He's right here behind us. He's right here on the other side. He's right here in front of us. He is below us, and he's above us. The verse said, when I go down to the depths of the sea, thou art there. It said, if I go into hell, thou art there. What a shame that people have to go into hell. There are people who think everything else in this world is more important. Whether it's food or jobs or drugs or sports or whatever it is. How long did you make the list? They got all these things that are more important. And they'll be joyful, yeah. But then they die and go to hell. Thou art there. When you go up to the highest mountain, now we can, real quick as it closes, it's easy to find God and talk to God when we're way up here, isn't it? the God of the mountain. Well, we're up here on the mountaintop and everything's going well. Hey, Lord, everything's pretty, everything's hunky-dory, everything's going okay. Yeah, me and you, Lord. But when we're down in that valley, if we're on our back and we're looking up, has He left us? We've all been there. Has He left us? All the way down the valley, you say nothing else can happen. That's why me and Mike were texting yesterday and we're trying to encourage him. God's not finished with you yet. God has a reason. This may not be pleasant, but every day is going to get better. And I told him, I said, I don't know what you're going through because I haven't gone through. I told him, I said, I'm not telling you this because I've gone through. I have no idea what you're facing. I have no idea. I don't have a clue of what Mike is going through, of what Linda's going through, of what Melissa's going through, of what little Ryan's going through. Needs his surgery. Like I said, they had to cancel this week. It's probably going to be another 4 weeks or so. I don't know what, I know what my sister's going through with her grandbaby. She's lost weight. She can't eat. Trying to take care of my mom. Her grandbaby's in the hospital. She's a total different person. I understand. We get down that far, guess what? God is there. I fell in the garage yesterday. Randy and Becky came and helped me up. Like it's like a rug burn on my elbow was all I got out of it, which I'm thankful. It still hurts, but they helped me up. I needed help. I thought I hurt my hip, but it didn't so far. It's still there. I haven't left. But when you're laying down all the way down, where's God when you need Him? Right in front of your face. But let's stand with heads bowed and eyes closed. How many of us, when we're down on our back, instead of calling God, we say, I can do it myself. I got the situation in hand. We're not going to have music today. We're not going to sing. We're not going to play. Maybe there's somebody here, though, you've never accepted Christ as your Savior. Why don't you step out and let somebody show you how to be saved? Just come on up and somebody can kneel at this altar and they can show you how to be born again. You're here and you know that there's been many times you need to call on the Lord. Where's God when you need Him? He's right there. What do? We forget. We forget about calling on Him. We say, I can do it myself. No, we can't. Lord, I want to say, and I assume I'm saying this on behalf of all of us, or almost all of us, that we're all guilty of not putting our hand out when we're down on the bottom. When we're down in the valley, we're guilty of not extending our hand and our heart and our mind and our strength and our voice and ask you to help. So Lord, from now on in our lives, may you give us the strength and the wisdom to know that when we're down, we must, just like you said, I will, we must call on you. Because remind us, Lord, that you're with us no matter where we are. Bless our day, our week. Lord, use everyone here. Use all of us to invite people to church next week so we can fill this building up and know that people are here because we care. We want to see people saved, changed. Bless us, Lord. Use us. Put someone in our lives this week, Lord, that we can be a blessing to. And all God's people said.